Good afternoon, brothers and sisters, and thank you for joining us here today as we commemorate Workers' Memorial Day and honor those who've lost their lives on the job this past year. 58 Massachusetts workers were killed in 2011. Of those 58 families who suffered the pain of losing a loved one at work this year, many have had to struggle with the fact that existing safety regulations could have saved their loved one's life. All the employer had to do was to value the lives of their employees enough to properly implement it. Many of this year's deaths could have been easily prevented had basic safety measures been in place. And of those, some involve egregious examples of employees putting workers at unnecessary risk. If we are serious about minimizing and hopefully someday eliminating workplace fatalities, we need to strengthen safety regulations and the penalties. Inadequate penalties contribute to an employer's mindset that they know it is cheaper to violate OSHA regulations than to comply with them, often at great human cost. We need to change the mindset so that the number one priority of all employers is how I can make my workers get home safe at night to their loved ones. This year in Massachusetts, we're commemorating the 100th anniversary of the Bread and Roses strike in Lawrence, just a few miles up the road. We all know what that strike was about in 1912. It was a demand for better wages, and they were also fighting for better working conditions. And 100 years ago today, people in those mills, 1/3 of the people in those mills, by the time they reached 10 years, had suffered pneumonia and tuberculosis to the level that they didn't make it to 25 years old. Well, a lot has changed in the past 100 years, thanks largely to the workers in Lawrence and those that followed them that stood up against inappropriate workplace conditions. Today, thankfully, we have OSHA to protect workers. We have unions to protect workers, but it's not enough. The fact that we are standing here mourning the loss of so many of our brothers and sisters is evidence to that. We need to take a page out of the playbook of the Bread and Roses strikers and demand that the employers put an end to unnecessary deaths on the job. Today is a day that we set aside to mourn our fallen brothers and sisters and honor the sacrifices they made while simply trying to provide for their families. But tomorrow we must take the sadness that we feel for the loss of these workers and turn it into a burning passion to make our jobs safer in Massachusetts. And then we must take that passion to the work site, to the halls of the building behind me, and to the halls of Congress. And that is the only way all of us working together will change what we mourn here today. And so I pledge as the AFL-CIO president to work with all of you, beginning tomorrow, to make sure that rules are in place, that laws are increased, and penalties are increased, and that together we can stop coming here annually to honor those that we miss and love. Thank you.